Thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you today. It's always daunting for ministers to face large expert audiences. It's particularly daunting when you know you bring to the job the full expertise of a week and a day in it. So I am conscious that I know less about policing than everyone else in this room, and that's sort of life really as a politician too often. But like many other people, I've had many experiences of police activity when I've been a victim of crime or when I've seen police in action in maintaining public order. I also famously have some experience of police action which is perhaps unique for a police minister in having been arrested. That guarantees that I'm not disposed to uncritical admiration of everything done by all police officers at all times. But what I can guarantee is that during my time in this job, I will be a candid friend of the police. I want you to succeed in your job because it's vital to a healthy society. And the best way I can help is to listen, learn, and express my own views clearly. We won't always agree, but I can absolutely guarantee I will always be willing to engage and discuss. And with that in mind, I caught some of the panel discussion there. I'm sorry I wasn't here for the whole conference this morning. I was out with the West Midlands Police meeting Chris Sims and his team and seeing the streets of Coventry, which I'm happy to report at 11 in the morning were entirely peaceful and orderly, and was interested to see what they're doing with technology in particular and trying to make themselves better at their job by the much better use of technology and various initiatives they're doing there. And again, I was struck listening to the end of the panel discussion that the chairman of the NPA described himself as just another cynical ex-journalist. And it's yet another club I join, I think, as a cynical ex-journalist myself. I used to work with Alistair Stewart, indeed, at ITN. And boy, could I tell you some stories about him in the 1980s. But then, boy, could he tell you some stories about me in the 1980s. So, moving swiftly on, I'm particularly pleased that my first major event and speech as a police minister is to one of the staff associations, because you, as the key leaders of policing, are the heart of our police force. Yesterday, I know the Home Secretary praised your professionalism and dedication, and I straightforwardly echo those sentiments. And this professionalism and dedication is going to be particularly valuable as you drive changes through your forces, change of the type I've been seeing in Coventry this morning. There is, as we know, a lot of change taking place. And of course, I accept that this makes it a very challenging period for officers and the force as a whole. And I understand that there's some suspicion about the changes we've made and are continuing to make. I'm not here to tell you that I'm going to be reversing or slowing the pace of change because reform of the police is hugely important. But I hope we can all follow Derek's call to move on from the changes and the debates and arguments of the past and work together to build a strong police force in the public interest. And to that end, I'll put on record today my thanks for all the work that you and your colleagues have done to address those challenges over the past few years, and the visible success, despite the reductions in budgets that were necessary, that we all know about. Crime is down, and as Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary has said, the service to the public is largely being maintained, response times have held up, and victim satisfaction is improving. And that's down largely to the dedication and professionalism that officers and leaders like all of you show every day. And I know that inevitably everything that's happened, all those changes have been what's dominated this conference over the past couple of days. But today what I want to talk about is some of the themes of professionalism and public confidence that underlie the reforms and what I think the benefits will be. And inevitably pay, pensions and all of that dominate a lot of the debate. It is still the case, it's worth saying, that even after all the reforms, police officers will continue to be among the best paid of the public services, retiring earlier than most, and with pensions that are among the most generous. But it's equally worth saying that that's absolutely right, to reward the exceptional job that you do. The Home Secretary has been determined to restore discretion to the police and to enhance professionalism, and that's exactly the right agenda. The proper use of discretion is important for all ranks of the police, but it is essential to you as superintendents. It's a prerequisite to cutting bureaucracy and to end the culture of the Home Office, police ministers, Home Secretaries, officials, looking over your shoulder as you make decisions. I want you to be able to get on with the job you joined the force to do, fighting crime. And I know that you can't do that if you're tied up in red tape and bogged down by form filling. I'm pleased that great strides have already been made in this area. We could see up to 4.5 million hours of police time saved across all forces every year. But I'm absolutely sure that more needs to be done to build on this, and that's one of the things I'm very keen to drive through as Police Minister. This morning, I spoke to Chris Sims, who's, of course, the ACPO lead on reducing bureaucracy, about what more we can do. We've tried to change a lot from the centre, but we have to work with forces and with you to identify where further improvements can be made. And this agenda of restoring discretion goes hand in hand with the agenda of improving professionalism. And at the outset, let me start by saying what the professionalism agenda is not about. It's not about criticising you or saying that the way you've been doing the job in the past is fundamentally flawed. And it's not about making policing a graduate profession. But it is about accepting that the threats we face have changed, and that to support the new landscape, and particularly the increase in your discretion that I very much want to see, we need to continue to develop skills and to ensure that they're properly recognised and rewarded. And the key to a lot of this will be the creation of the new policing professional body, the College of Policing. The college will be established by the end of this year, taking on functions from the NPIA and from ACPO business areas, and it will have a powerful mandate to enable the service to implement the required standards for training, development, skills, and qualifications. And absolutely crucially, it will be independent of government, with a board made up of representatives from across the ranks, with PCCs and independent members helping to give advice and to improve accountability. And as I think the Home Secretary said yesterday, the Chief Executive will be a senior officer. I was pleased in one of the voluminous reading I did over the weekend in the new brief that the work on the college has been progressing well over the summer, and I'm very grateful for the engagement of the Superintendents Association during this important period. Now, the other key part of the drive to develop professionalism and to restore discretion is taking forward the recommendations of the Windsor Review. Even before I took on this job, I had noticed that this was not the most uncontroversial thing any government had ever started on. But the principles surrounding the changes do seem to me important. If we are to properly support professionalism, we have to value the skills that officers, using their warranted powers, gain to carry out their roles. And a pay system that simply rewards time served rather than skills and professional development can't do this. And yesterday, the Home Secretary spoke to you about the benefits of these proposals to you specifically as operational leaders, the signals that you can send to your officers and staff, and the flexibility that you will be given. And these benefits will flow to all officers and to the public, because it will support the central aim of policing, which is to cut crime. And it's that relationship, that absolutely key relationship between police and public, where I'd like to move on to for the last couple of minutes. You all know that it's a relationship that is made every day, that needs to be won every day by every individual action, every decision made by an officer. And contrary to what I think a lot of people would think, confidence in the police has been steadily improving. But it's clear that too many people still feel disconnected from their local force. They think policing is something that happens to them rather than something that they need to engage with. And that's why it's exciting that we've got these elections for police and crime commissioners on the 15th of November. Public awareness of these elections is now beginning to increase, and people have started talking about policing priorities in their areas in a way that they haven't before. And let me repeat again, you'll hear this a lot from ministers, but it can bear repeating a lot. You will be the ones taking the operational decisions. They are not being taken away. The police take operational decisions. But with a directly elected figure accountable to the community they've been elected to represent, that link with the public will be renewed. We all know that a healthy society requires the police and public to be at ease with each other, and the triumph of the policing operation at the Olympic and Paralympic Games, where I noticed you were all quite rightly awarded gold medals to all concerned, that was a testament to this. As you know, I've visited the Olympic Park several times, but it wasn't just there. It was everyone involved in the torch relay, the tourists and residents of London. Everyone was only really able to throw themselves into the spirit of the Games because of the work that dedicated police officers were doing quietly behind the scenes. The fact that nobody mentioned public order at all during the Olympic period is a huge testimony to the success of the operation that police all over the country were involved with. The police were essential in delivering a safe, secure and enjoyable Games that did prove to be one of the best things that happened in this country and to this country for many decades. And one of the legacies, I think it's a statutory responsibility that if you talk about the Olympics, you have to use the word legacy in the same speech, or Boris will beat you about the head. But one of the, there should be, no, I won't go there. One of the legacies of the Games needs to be that the easier relationship between police and public needs to become a permanent part of our landscape. And it's not just for you as leaders or individual officers or forces to work to win this confidence, because elected politicians have a duty to help build this too. Clearly, the PCCs will do this, but it's also clearly a responsibility for ministers. And as I said, I will always be available to talk to and listen to the representatives of policing. And part of that inevitably will be getting out and visiting as many forces as possible around the country. As I said, I was in Coventry this morning, so I've only got another 42 forces to go. So I'm well down that road. I also want to thank Derek for his contribution as president. I know that he's been a source of good advice for ministers, and after Derek stands down next year, I look forward to working with Irene and continuing what has been a very important relationship that the Home Office have with the Superintendents Association. And while talking about associations, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Steve Williams on becoming chair-elect of the Police Federation. I had in my briefing that he is a trained hostage negotiator, and I was pondering that, seeing what may happen over the next few years. I'm sure he'll find it a useful skill. But I know several people have said that there is the opportunity with the new leadership of the Fed, a new police minister, for a new start in relationships. And personal relationships will be very, very important. And I am more than happy to do what I need to do to ensure that we have a creative, constructive, polite, sensible, evidence-based dialogue. That is the way to make progress. Of course, we won't always agree. Of course, reform and change is always a painful period for all involved, but absolutely we need to have those discussions on a proper and regular basis. So, of course it's true, I acknowledge and recognise fully that we have a dedicated and professional police service, and I'm excited about the future of policing in this country. And at a time of great change that we're going through, not just in the police world, but more widely, the central mission for policing will remain the same, to cut crime. And as long as I'm Police Minister, I will always support you to do this in the interests of the people of this country. Thank you very much.